Altcoins are starting to move, yields are finally dropping, and Ethereum finally starts to wake up. I'm all in an altcoin portfolio. I'm expecting a lot from them, and I expect those altcoins to explode. So in this video, we talk about why I'm thinking that and how to handle the volatility. Let's get started. Hello, we have partnered with OKX, and if you sign up before December the 5th, you're going to get two important things, which is the lowest trading fees. Right now we have the bull market and I want to trade as much as I can. So I'm very happy with the lowest fees that I can get on OKX. And if you sign up, you can earn up to 270 euros in free money if you hold a certain amount of cash on the exchange. The link you can find beneath here. Make sure to sign up and have a wonderful time on OKX. The altcoin markets are firing up as we can see that XRP has been breaking their highs and has been erasing losses for the past few years. XLM went 6x. Grass is a new hype, breaking all-time highs and being the most hyped deep-in project. But before we're going to talk about the altcoin markets, I would like to discuss something else, which is, as you know, tomorrow it's going to be Black Friday. It's a very interesting commercial day that's taking place, and we can't do nothing, which is that, as you know, we've got MN Academy, that is our courses that we have. In the Crypto 101 course, we discuss everything or surrounding all the verticals, Bitcoin, Ethereum, why everything is important and the basics of starting a portfolio. In the Trading 101 course, I technically explain everything about rebalancing, building your portfolio, trading it, technical analysis, risks, psychology, and all those things included. And of course, we're going to do a discount, but we're going to be discussing that in the next update on Sunday. So make sure to watch that video if you want to make use of these discounts. Additionally, we had the second podcast being uploaded on Tuesday. First one was with Bart Brans, and the second New Era Finance podcast is with Arno Wellens. If you would like to watch that one, check it out in the description beneath, and also make sure to subscribe because the third guest is a big one, and I really fancy that one. I really fancy that talk, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, what's happening with those altcoins? I mean, it's super strange when you have down only for multiple years and then down only switches into bazooka going up, where Ethereum starts to make some slight movements. And during those slight movements, you can see that the altcoins are just firing off. We've had the Ethereum ETF inflow, which is super positive. Finally, again, we had 1 week of sell-off taking place there, but again, at this stage, the inflow is breaking 50 million a day of net inflow. And that inflow has such a big impact into Ethereum as the supply shock is way heavier there. You can compare that if you have 500 million of inflow into the Bitcoin ETF, that would probably have the same price increase impact as having 50 million into the Ethereum ETF. So having that constant inflow after Trump has been elected is super positive for crypto and is actually pushing the price of Ethereum back upwards. On top of that, we have the case that the yields continue to drop. I think in the past 5 to 6 months, we had a yield structure on government bonds that continued to rally, as the expectations are that the Fed is not really going to do many rate cuts. However, if the yields are high, Ethereum is less interesting for institutional investors. And when that pendulum switches, that is where you will likely start to see more interest into Ether, pushing the Ethereum adoption forward even more, which makes me believe that the current correction that we see on the yields is comparable to the price action that we saw on Ethereum, which we will be discussing in a little bit. Then also we've seen Bitcoin not breaking 100k, but getting close to it with 99.3k, where after that a correction took place of approximately 10%. And during that correction, you can see that the Bitcoin valuations of altcoins are going up, which means that there is a rotation taking place. There's more confidence in the markets from Bitcoin, And based from that confidence, people feel more relaxed to be going heavier on the risk curve, adding on to their risk, as they kind of understand and know that the altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin substantially. So during that correction, you can see that altcoins are actually starting to fire off. So that is money flowing from Bitcoin towards ETH and the rest of the ecosystem, also from XRP, by the way. And the final one is that Gary Gensler has resigned, which had a trigger where the USA coins, so XLM, XRP, Algo, and a few others that were impacted by the SEC securities article of like 2 to 3 years ago, they started to break out of their bear market, which is very similar to what we've seen in 2020. But it's, again, fueling everything that we have in the perfect storm surrounding crypto at this point. So overall, the momentum is entirely back into the markets. We see a lot of those altcoins persistently break through their bear market and break into a new trajectory of going into that bull market momentum, probably going to break all-time highs. But many of those altcoins haven't moved at all. So that's why it's super important to realize that they are still yet to move and there are still massive moves to occur, which I think that we are on the edge of altcoins to literally explode. If XRP can come back towards the all-time high in 2 weeks, XLM can do a 6x in no time, then I'm sure that the newer coins that have hype tech are going to go way higher than they should go. And that is great for trading purposes. I'm a trader, I started trading again. I'm an investor, so I'm happy to allocate funds into an altcoin portfolio to increase my Bitcoin stack at some point in this cycle. So it just shows that going into coins right now makes the actual most sense. And I've got an example here, which is XLM. XLM has been going vertical in the past 2 weeks. And if you can see on the left side of the screen, there's an arrow, which is basically showing a comparable move that we saw where it just went through the roof. It started to accelerate quite fast, just like we see right now. But it also shows that during those momentum and periods, you will have substantial corrections. Actually, XLM dropped by 50% after the first initial move. And it's actually expected to happen again. As XLM went 6x, a lot of people start to take profits, and the amount of people that are looking to get into XLM at this point are likely the ones seeing on social media that it's going to go through the roof and that it's going to go to another 10x from here. But it might be doing that, but it needs to reset into a normal state of mind before it can actually start doing those big moves. So it shows that there's a lot of FOMO. It shows that there's a lot of upside to be made. And it shows that you can actually wait for better moments and allocate your funds from XLM into something else that didn't move. Or if you don't have any position, you can actually start allocating funds into something like, for instance, Wormhole, which is new tech, which is bridging between all the chains, and it barely moved against US dollar. It is still in that accumulation range where XLM was moving in between as well before it did make a 6x. So for this one, for instance, it is super likely to start breaking out of this accumulation trend, especially after the extended times of periods where we have negativity surrounding the low floating high FTV coins or the new Binance listings through which they were even sold off more, that it's very likely to expect a reverse move back into normal trajectory, where I think that Wormhole is going to make that big breakout, but especially a lot of those coins outside of the Ethereum ecosystem or inside the Ethereum ecosystem are going to follow what XRP and XLM are doing. And that's why we're going to move into the charts to see what I'm seeing and why I'm having those coins in my portfolio. As I said, Ethereum is finally moving upwards. The altcoins are showing signals we've not seen for many years. And finally, we're getting into a state where I can also be happy And the charts are actually showing this. So I wanted to take a moment in this update to go through a few of the charts that I'm looking at to see the confirmation of the markets rotating. So as you can see, I've got Ethereum against Bitcoin here, which I think is still the key metric to see whether there's strength or weakness in the market when it comes to the altcoins. Ether, whether or not it is actually the most important chart out there for altcoins. I think the entire markets are just waiting for Ether to rotate. And when they wait for Ether to rotate, or when it is rotating, new releases come out, new listings, new liquidities being added, all those things are just rolling up. Well, I actually believe that everything inside the Ether chain, so for instance, DeFi and stuff, that's actually where Ethereum starts to move from, not from Ethereum itself. Now, when you look at the charts, you can actually see a few important aspects, which is from this low in August, and if you remember, this low was created during the Japanese yen crash, and that's when Ether broke down. From that moment until the recent low, we actually have a massive bullish divergence indicating that one of the two, the indicator or the price, is wrong. And usually in this case, it is the price that has to come back up, which means that Ethereum against Bitcoin is very likely to go back towards 0.05, for instance, to get back into a neutral state. So that's why we can see that it's actually moving up here. And secondly, we can see that there is a lot of volume taking place around this low. And in order to have that confirmation, you generally wanted to see that it breaks through the previous support, in this case 0.036, and flips that and continues from there. And in this case, we are actually finally doing it. So claps for Ethereum. And if you look at the chart and you compare it to the yields, then you can actually see that we have a very substantial correlation taking place. So here we had a slight bounce upwards as the Fed did some rate cuts. But after that, we had some pretty strong labor market data from which, and also the Fed was expecting to stop doing the rate cuts. And from there, we can see that the yields, which is this pink line for the 2-year yields, rallied up again and Ethereum started to fall. Now, we had a slight break up after the elections took place. We had another fall. And then from the moment that we have this low, the yield started to break south. And if that trend continues to happen, in which also the dollar starts to become a little bit weaker, I think that the rotation on Ether starts to happen in general, which means that the altcoins are going to have its momentum. And I think that if you expect Ethereum, for instance, to do a plus 50 to plus 100% against Bitcoin, then the smaller you have in terms of size in the Ether ecosystem, the heavier the move will be. So I wouldn't be surprised if an altcoin like Optimism is going to do any like 200 to 400% move or even more. If you go to others divided by Bitcoin, then you can also see that we've got a new bottoming process taking place here, in which we have a bullish divergence, we have an indication that we're hitting the lows, and we have the confirmation that we have the highest volume indicated in this period around the low, which is comparable to what we've seen in 2020, where the reversal took place, that surrounding that period around the low, the market started to fire up. And the same you could see if you do the total tree divided by Bitcoin, which on a weekly time frame is showing us a bullish divergence since June. And this is the actual first sign ever, or actually since this low in 2018, that we have the bullish divergence indicating that we were going to go up. So finally, after 3 years of bear market, the first time since the rotation in 2019 and 2020 happened, we have the same arguments that we're going to rotate with the markets. And as you can see, we have barely moved with the entire altcoin market capitalization chart, which also means that if we add this to XRP and XLM,
that there is still a lot of momentum to gain from here. Especially if you're going to look at, for instance, optimism. This one has been destroyed massively in the sense that in March of 2023, we had 13,000 sats. In March, or actually December of 2023, we had a move of 9,000 sats coming from 3,800. And now we are at 1,800 sats, which means that if you correlate this to take profit areas, I said March high in USD values is likely what we're looking at. But if we're looking at the BTC values and knowing that we have a massive bullish divergence indicating the low on this one as well, we could also say that it's very likely going to run to 9,000 sats, which is still a 3.5 to 4x from here against Bitcoin. So if we have that as a metric, then optimism might even go towards numbers of $8 to $12 in the coming 6 months in the first run. And if you add that on top of Wormhole, for instance, you can see that we're building up a massive bullish divergence here as well. It's currently at 300 sats coming from 250, and the previous high is around 1.5k sats, which is around 500% from here. So that shows that there, especially against the Bitcoin valuations, altcoins are about to explode. The momentum is going to be insane. If you're a volatility trader, congratulations. If you're a scalper, congratulations. If you're a swing trade investor, congratulations. If you're not positioned yet, or if you're not positioned yet into the altcoin markets, make sure to start building your portfolio. Right now is the actual last time to make an easy entry. Thank you very much for watching to this update. On Sunday, we're going to have the discount for the courses, and we're going to discuss the weekly insights on what's happening in the markets, what I'm doing with my portfolio, and what you should be expecting in the weeks to come. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you again Sunday. Ciao.